All right, geographers, let's get into the data aspect, actually creating data. So, in that American Samoa, or whatever it was, Samoa fish, I forget, whatever one I told you in the last video to download that zip file from Canvas, you've got the geodatabase that we use, but we also have two PDFs that I gave you. And these are official government documents describing these large vessel prohibited areas, okay, around American Samoa. And the idea behind this is that around the islands here, there are going to be certain areas where really big, meaning commercial shipping vessels, were not allowed to come in as a way to protect local fishers, local people who just, small fishing boats were just going out, kind of, that small business kind of deal, way to protect them from some of these international corporations and big, massive fishing industry ships. Okay, so this original one here is from 2002 when this was implemented. So again, drawing these boundaries where if you're in a fishing boat of a certain size, you can't come in here. It's just for the little folk and the local folk. That was kind of the main idea, to give them a chance and limit some of this unfair competition. So this is what I needed to map out. This boundary in 2002, and then in 2016, this is the other document, when they updated and altered these boundaries. So I needed a map showing both the 2002 boundaries and the 2016 boundaries. And of course, as I said in the last video, this doesn't exist in some easily downloadable feature class or shapefile or whatever. This is how it exists. I couldn't even find maps showing this stuff, right? It's just these lengthy documents, these dense documents describing what they did, where these things are, and all that. And even in here, there's no nice map. What you find in both of these, if you scroll down toward the end, is you get some points in here, right? And a description, a little legal description explaining where these things are, where they exist, right? So this is what I had to work with, right? And this is what I needed to turn into a map. And to give you a sense of what we're doing, here we go. Here's the resulting map. This is the one that wound up going into the book showing this stuff, and had some limitations in terms of, like, couldn't do color. Had to keep it as simple and clear as possible. It was going to be printed in a relatively small book page, so I had to be very clear, make a lot of choices. This is what you have to do when you're making a map: is think about how is it going to be utilized. And so what we're seeing here with this hashed little grid area, that's our 2002 LVPA, Large Vessel Prohibited Area. So the 2002 boundaries. The dark gray, that's the 2016 boundary. So they shrunk these significantly. Okay, so with this, this is what you're going to be producing ultimately, is you're going to make something along these lines, a map showing these boundaries that you're going to create. And this should be recognizable, this little peep shape right here, that's our EEZ, that exclusive economic zone. And the reason why we have that is that's a part of, at least with the 2002 boundaries, right? A key part of the borders right here. So we need that. We need that data. But this is the goal right here, right? We're going from these tables and all that to some visual display of the data. So with this one, we've got down at the end, you got these tables. If we go to 2016, it's a longer document. It's a little more detailed, thankfully. And if we keep going down, good Lord, here we go to some other tables and coordinates. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. And the 2016 one is quite useful because they actually had somebody who knew what they were doing in describing this. They put in here the datum for these coordinates is World Geodetic System, WGS, 1984. That's huge because without having that, we don't really know how these coordinates were derived, and it means we could make a nice table, bring it into ArcGIS. It's still placed in the wrong location because we used the wrong datum, right? But this is clearly labeled, and you could make some educated guesses. If this were something on the main United States in North America, it would probably be NAD 83. If it's a more modern project, or NAD 27, something like this that's out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, gonna stick with WGS. These are things you kind of learn from working with this data long enough, right? But luckily, we don't have to guess or infer or whatever. It clearly states this. And this is the case for both of them, for 2016 and 2002. Okay, so we're using WGS 1984. File that away. But what you need to do is come through here first, read it to get a sense of it. So it's describing, okay, here's this, LVPA, large vessel, large US vessel may not be used to fish. So the idea being, yeah, it's exclusive to American ships, but of these American ships, if it's big, you can't come into this specific area. And it's as defined in paragraphs B and C of this section. So here's B. And let's see, C, I guess, right there. Yeah. So with that, where was I? And see, this is part of the fun. It's all this legal speak and all that. Why can't they just make a nice map for us to see? But whatever. So yeah, accept is allowed. Blah, 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 blah. So B, right here. This large vessel prohibited area, we've got two, is what it's saying. It consists of the waters of the EEZ around American Samoa, enclosed by straight lines connecting the following coordinates. Okay, so we've got these points right here. Okay, and then from point AS1A, this one, westward along the latitude, 13 degrees, 30 minutes south until intersecting the U.S. EEZ boundary with Samoa. You get it? You get what we're dealing with? This is why I said at the start of all this that this stuff is brutal, because it's this kind of stuff. You have to really kind of pause and think about, wait, what is it saying? And visualize this stuff. But here's how we're going to do it. It's okay. We're going to get through this. Our first move is we need to make an Excel table where we can type in these points. We've done this before in the class. It's like what we did with our whole georeferencing, that old 19th century Placerville map. Same kind of deal. So I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to open up Excel, and I'm going to have point, lat, and long in here. Okay, and so for point, I'm going to use the actual names that they're giving me so I can keep track of all this stuff, right? So AS1-A. Okay, and then latitude and longitude, like we've done before, we're going to get in and we're going to convert this stuff, right? And I've got pulled up what we had before. I got a million things here. There we go. The same FCC.gov website that I used before. Just going to type this stuff in. So let's go ahead and close that. And see, this is part of the fun too, is when you're working with all this stuff, multiple windows. It's why it's really nice to have dual monitors, at least, where you can plug your laptop into a bigger monitor or have a desktop with multiple monitors. It makes it so much easier. Right now with all the recording stuff, that's taking up my laptop, and I've got kind of a compressed area, but you'll learn it's kind of worth investing in having a bigger display so you can work with multiple windows at the same time and go back and forth with this. But whatever, you don't have to do it. You can also do just fine on a little 13-inch laptop screen. You kind of You earn it. You earn your work a little more when you suffer like that. All right, so let's do this first one. It's 13. It's 13 degrees latitude, 30 minutes. Okay, and another thing, talked about this before, we need to think positive and negative, right? At the table over here, it says south latitude. This one says west longitude. Both of these values are going to be negative, right? If you think back to how we had the X and Y axis, think back to being in algebra class and graphing things with positive and negative values. If it's west, so to the left of the prime meridian, it's negative. And if it's south of the equator, so below that x-axis, it's going to be negative as well. So both of these are going to be negative. And so I don't get confused, I'm just going to do this, type in a negative for each of these here. Okay, so my longitude would be 167 and 25. Okay, and I'll hit convert to decimal. It gives me these values. And the nice thing is, in putting in the negative, I can just copy and paste. Control C, Control V to get that in there. And I don't have to think or remember to put in a negative or whatever. Okay, so what you're going to do, I'm just going to stop this here. I don't need to do it for an entire video. But what you're going to do is add these remaining ones right here. So AS1B, and that goes under here, AS2A, AS2B, right? You're going to do that for 2002, and then we're also going to do it for 2016. All right, so what would be useful, let's do it this way. I'm going to right click on this sheet, hit rename, and I'm going to call this LVPA, Large Vessel Prohibited Area 2002. Okay, then I'm going to add another one. I'm going to rename this LVPA 2016. Right, same thing right here. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. So it's going to be point, lat, long. But this time it's going to be from these right here. And what you can see with 2016, we have a lot more points because, you go back to that map, there's smaller areas. It's not utilizing the EEZ in the same way. So it's that. We also get to the seconds. It's very precise with exactly where these boundaries exist. But, going back to this right here, just when you're doing seconds, like that 42 is seconds, the two little tick marks right there, that just goes in there, right? That's how you do that. These again, south and west, it's both going to be negative. So go through here, label all these things clearly, make sure you get everything, like scroll to the end. And yeah, here's our one picture showing us a boat. Like toddlers, we need the map. So yeah, it's just these 4 points for 2002. And then for this one, it's going to be handle. And you can see, like, they repeat at the bottom to show that it's closing, right? So this TU1 starts out, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it goes back to TU1. And what that's saying, basically, why they're doing it, is saying that 5 here, the line continues up. It's a closed polygon. So you don't need to repeat TU1, MA1, SW1. Don't worry about that because you're repeating stuff. All right, but fill this stuff out, save it, and in the next video we'll get into, okay, what are we doing, right? Bring this stuff in and actually start to make these boundaries. All right? Don't forget to save. Save often. Take breaks if your brain gets tired from reading through this stuff, and happy data entry. It's going to be cool. It'll be worth it. All right, good luck.